Well, good evening, everyone. I am the guest host this evening at Same Cast, Different Day podcast. I almost screwed that up right away, but I'd like to introduce myself. I am actually Crystal B, which is my DJ name. So everyone knows me, my legal name out there. So I would like to introduce everyone to my broadcast this evening. We're going to talk about in May is mental health awareness. I have a bunch of great guests with me this evening. I would really appreciate that they will give you a good insight of what their thoughts and feelings of what their mental health is, where it's taken them from day one to day, and ideas, thoughts, and maybe even a lot of different feedback from a lot of different people. We may have a few people more jumping in this evening. I do appreciate everyone this evening for showing up. So I'd like to wish and say thank you to our guest this evening, and that would be Brian, Rebecca, Denise, and Kasha this evening. Now, being a guest host, this is my first gig, so we're going to try this out, and hopefully I don't screw it up too badly. We'll give my best shot at this one, and maybe if everyone likes what I do, maybe we'll be doing this again. That's possibly if the boss man lets me come back again. No, maybe we'll see what happens. All right, so we're going to start out, and if anyone would like to unmute themselves, and we will talk, or we can all unmute if you like to, and we can talk about Mental Health Awareness Month.
I'm the first one to unmute myself.
It was Brian. It was you and Denise. All right, so.
Oh, okay.
Rebecca, you're welcome on mute, and Kasha, if you're welcome on mute. Okay, good. He's off. Okay. Just waiting on Rebecca there. She looks like she's busy, so that's okay. Maybe she'll get the message in a bit. All right, so it will have you guys each talk about. I'll start out. We're going to each talk about mental health month. Okay, so I can never get this right. So I'm going to start out by saying my name is Crystal B, and I have been transgender for over 20 plus years. My mental health has been unstable off and on for a lot of years. About almost 3 years ago, I actually started, and a friend of mine actually pushed me into actually stop dragging my feet, stop looking in the wrong direction, and looking into actually bettering myself and becoming a woman versus just dragging my feet of being a person I never wanted to be at all. I've gone to therapy. I'm in the current process of actually having a consultation for bottom surgery to actually correct my anatomy. So that is it's a big thing. This is a big step for me. And yeah, that's the direction I'm going in. So as we get going here, I'll go ahead and I'll pick on Brian right away because he's right next to me.
Okay. Awesome.
So Brian, if you want to talk about your mental health and what made you aware of anything in your life?
Oh, my mental, can we cuss on this?
You can do whatever you want, man. You can do whatever you want.
Because my mental health is shit. I mean, it's like I am very recently out of some hairy situations. So I don't know. I don't know how to really discuss that. But this will be fun to figure it out. Going through midlife crisis, breakups, emotional disasters in my life, and a complete and utter collapse of my businesses, all in the course of 3 months last year. So several moments that I was going to drive myself to the hospital because I really felt like I was going to do some really, really stupid, irreversible stuff. So that's where I'm at, but I'm super happy right now.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian, for giving us a nice little thing. And now we'll hand over the mic and see if Rebecca there will unmute herself if she can hear me. Maybe not.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. You. Okay, so Rebecca, I would like to. We're talking about the mental health awareness as I was talking about. So, tell me about. I'm gonna quiet my phone a second here. Tell me about things that have challenged you over life. If it's been recent, if it's been in your past, things like anything.
Well,
I'm
Sorry, she knocked the table.
Sorry.
Um,
I'm
um,
sorry.
We
so
lost it.
I have basically, when I was younger, was told I had depression, but then a few years ago, I was actually diagnosed with bipolar. So I tried a lot of medications and nothing worked. And then finally now I've finally found something that does work. So my moods are better, but it's going to sound weird because to everybody else, it sounds very weird, but my life is a series of like one good thing happening to me followed by like 20 bad. So literally like it could be like, I got an A in class and then 2 days later, it's like something terrible happens. And it's like, last year, like right around this time last year, my dad was diagnosed with, brain cancer, and we were given like told maybe like hopefully a year, and then he passed away in October. So I'm still kind of dealing with that every day, but that's pretty much right now
And then you're just
everything. So yeah, and then today my mom just told me that my sister had an MRI done and they suspected she has a brain tumor. So I'm just like, oh, well, like I'm telling you, my life is, that's just one little everything. So, like I just try to deal with it. Sometimes I use humor. I do what I got to do, and I have to go to work every day and just be like, hi, because I'm a lead. So it's like, I have to be happy and everything, or else, they go to my manager like, oh, she's being this. So, so that's my life in a nutshell.
Well, thank you, Rebecca, for sharing. I thank you very much. And I'm sorry to hear that, you are including Brian. These are, it's tough, regardless of what gets thrown at you. Could be by the minute, by the second, by the day, by the, month, the year, quarter, whatever it is. It's tough. It's not an easy thing. No, I knew this was going to be a very hard podcast by all means, because everyone has some kind of mental health breakdown somewhere in their life. And this is some we, really need to talk about. It's not just involving anyone in the LGBTQIA. This is everybody. This is every human being out there that we all need to talk about this. This is something that really needs to, to be brought in front of the table. And I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry to hear that. I pray that, as we get on to Denise and Kashyap, I pray that everybody, we all can move, things will get better. That's what I hope for,
Right.
So,
I hope so. I really hope so.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for taking your time. I do appreciate it, dear. Thank you for,
You're welcome.
and thank you for giving all your information. We're going to kind of keep on rotating around as we go here, and I want to let everyone else have the mic, and I'm going to sit back and watch people. Maybe we'll see. That's good. All right, Denise. So you're the next one up because you're the next one in line on my Zoom. Would you like to talk about your mental health at all?
Sure. I've been dealing with mental health issues since I was 5. I live with depression. Sometimes depression lives with me. And I just fight and struggle. I've been hospitalized. I took electric shock therapy, which I wouldn't recommend to anybody. I lost a week of my life that I vaguely remember. It is what it is. What I found out recently was I don't react to serotonin uptake inhibitors. So we had to go old school and go back to some of the drugs from the 60s. And I do a lot better on those. It is what it is. Depression is one of those things you either fight or you give up. And today I choose to fight.
Well, first, Denise, I want to say I'm glad you're fighting. Thank you for fighting. And I, we understand depression is another, part of the, mental health awareness, and it's yikes with the shock therapy. God bless you, dear. I don't know. It sounds like it's a wild, it sounds I don't know. Yikes, I mean, I went to some pretty dark places myself too, Denise, sometimes, but
Yeah. Well, the thing about shock therapy is one thing is they don't really prepare you for it. It's just like the second time I was more into myself, and they do like 3, and luckily I only needed 2 apparently, but it's all I'd ever seen before that is what they showed on TV. So I expected, the thing in your mouth and, but they're really gentle about it, and they try to tie you down so you're not moving and everything ahead of time. But the things that I would suggest to people are like, when you're done, get some gum, because it feels like your brain was taken out of your head, slammed against the wall, and then put back in your head. And the only thing that deals with that is a chewing pressure from your teeth to your brain to help soothe that ache. Yeah. No, but it didn't disrupt the thinking they wanted to disrupt. And some people it works for and some people it doesn't. I would never do it again, and I would never suggest it to anyone to do.
That's the first time actually I've heard of that before. I've never, I've heard of many things, but this is Denise. Thank you. I mean, appreciate that, especially being a little in depth on it too. That's wow.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. You if you want to go more to talk about, please. You don't have to be sorry about, dear. Is there anything that you have looked forward to from when you went from your old medications to what the old school stuff, as I call old school medication, to today? Have things gotten better, worse, about the same? What is your, do you have any goals that you want to shoot for down the road?
I really want to move. I live in Greenville, South Carolina, and it's the atmosphere is pretty dark right now. I just want to go someplace where it's less political. Yeah, that's a safe word. It's less political for everybody around me, because right now it's all, I can't carry, I have a purse that I got for Christmas, and it's all Michelle Obama covers from magazines. And yeah, that's not a good thing to carry around here.
Oh, jeez.
So,
God bless you. Oh, jeez. I mean, you have a right as a U.S. citizen to be able to carry, walk, and talk as you wish. But there are, as
but
we
it
say,
identifies me as who I am, a Democrat and extremely liberal. So, and then you get people who are not. And my choice is to live and let live and not bother about it. But other people have other ideas.
And it's too bad. It's too bad, Denise, that things have to be like that. I'm sorry to hear that. No. So do you have any? So other than moving, do you have any other goals? Would your moving help your psychological or mental state of mind if you were in a different area of wherever that is?
Well, I want to move to Louisiana, but I haven't found a city that's not on hurricane path yet.
Uh-huh.
So my second choice is Texas. My dad lives in San Antonio, and my best friend lives in Houston. So maybe somewhere in the middle. And so I have my own city. But I like the history of it. It's a little hot, but I can deal with that.
I hear it's hot, and there's, I think, maybe snakes and whatever. I don't know. I've heard there's some interesting rodents down in Texas. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, Denise. That's what I hear from people. So
Fire ants. Fire ants.
Fire ants?
Yeah, I was born down there.
Oh.
And my aunt still lives there. Fire ants are a real thing.
They have here in Greenville, so yeah.
Yikes. All right, anything else, Denise, you would like to share at all as we start out here?
Oh, no.
Okay, well, thank you, Denise, very much. Appreciate it. We'll head on to our last guest this evening so far, unless when I just see we just had a new guest stop in, so when she gets her mic off, we will introduce her. So Kashif, you are the last one on the list right now because you're on the far end of my screen. So
okay.
let's talk about your mental health. Now you have I want to call it international background. That's what I always say,
Yeah.
And how does that, what are your kind of, your mental health as being you, and what do you, this is something I'd like to get out of curiosity. This is something I'm going to ask everybody too, is how does it affect your everyday activities with people?
Oh, it's interesting. That's a good question. It's interesting. I mean, on the one hand, having an international background, you get exposure to what life is like in the rest of the world. Whether it's good or bad. I've seen some really fancy things, being able to visit family. Traveling, and I've also seen some really really sad things, like just we take for granted the level of medical care that we can get here in the States, but overseas in some countries, there are people who can't get basic treatment, and they end up crippled and rolling around on machinist, or not machinist, but mechanic carts, on the street, because that's the only way they can move, and they just wheel themselves around on their hands. And so, seeing stuff like that growing up as a kid, it's like, okay, yeah, that happens. That's not good. It'd be nice if we could do something about that. But then coming back, it's like every time it was a little bit of a culture shock, because we have so much that we just take for granted, and sometimes that can be stressful and frustrating to see what we are willing to take for granted. Sometimes, just simple things like wasting food, and sustainability ideas and stuff like that are they're deeply meaningful in some areas of the world, but here it can be like just another word sometimes. But when people take it seriously, I think they usually are thinking about the people that have less, and that's one thing that always stood out to me, and it caused a little bit of strife in my day to day, being slightly well-to-do, growing up, because my dad was not a doctor, but he worked with doctors. Some of the people that I came across, they take money even for granted, and it's frustrating. It happens in the international world too. So it's not like it's a uniquely American problem of not caring for others that have less. And there are plenty of people here who do care. But makes it frustrating when you've seen with your own eyes, how bad it can get for some people, and then to just, have it be laughed at or things like that.
And what do you do? Now here's a good question for you. What do you do as a, even from like your work standpoint, and then like, what as your mental health, do you do like a checklist that you have to go through every day, things you got to do, especially because you deal with customers on a daily basis? There's things that you got to work with, and then the things
I've found there. Yeah, so emotional labor, I don't know if anyone's heard of that word before, but that's something that a lot of people have to do in their work. You have to constantly make sure that you have the right attitude at work. You have to make sure you constantly have the right awareness, the right intention with your customers and with your coworkers, and so that can take a toll. For me, I have a diagnosis of autism and depression and anxiety and ADHD. Plus I'm a bit gender fluid as well. So I've got, a small list of things. I'm high functioning on the autism side, so it's not terrible, but it's noticeable at times. And so doing all of those things for me in particular is a bit of a stressor. And so I just make it a point. I don't use a checklist myself, but I would highly recommend a checklist. I just kind of keep in my mind a rotation of like just a few simple ideas, like always being thankful, being mindful, and just trying my best to be humble. Those things carry me through my days usually. But there are definitely some checklists that like I think I sent you a link to that or a picture of that book, right? Inside of it has like worksheets and checklists and everything for how to be resilient. And I think that's one of the, as a student of psychology, I would say that might be my recommendation in health awareness month is to learn about resilience and how to be resilient in the face of struggles and strife.
And that is a very good point.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. It'll keep you healthy,
I agree with you, Kashyap. I think being resilient, seeing where those demons are, find out how we can, and sometimes it might take more than just one person to be, and this is everybody. I mean, everybody, not just, you or me or everybody. Sometimes it might take, you might need a friend. You might need, who knows, you call in your neighbor. I don't know. Maybe you have a parent, or maybe you have a cousin or a dad or mom, someone you can count on, and they don't have to be blood related. I mean, they could be anybody. I mean, just add a honest thing. I could go talk to Brian, and he's somewhere in the middle of the United States, and I could go talk to Martel. I'm just saying, there's people I could, if I really, want to, I'm just not trying to pick on these boys, but I mean, just example. Sometimes, you can make friends, and if someone were to come to me, if I'm just going to say, if Denise, Rebecca, Letty, gosh, if anyone came to me and said, hey, listen, I just need to talk to you. You know what? I would definitely listen. I listen to Brian, I listen to Martel, I listen to anybody. Really, any one of anybody that, just needs a good ear, and maybe you just need to get stuff off your chest. Maybe that person's going to make the difference for you to actually still be alive. And it's hard. It hurts. It gives people headaches. It gives you a lot of bad demons. That's, I guess I always like to say, and that's very hard.
There was something I learned when I was in school. It was one thing that stuck with me more than a lot of things, and it was something silly. Like they had a rule that if you walked on this certain pathway, every person that you saw, like that walked past you, you had to at least smile and acknowledge and say hi. It was just like a silly school rule that you have to say hi to anyone that you see on that path, walking next to the student union or something. And it helps, just giving someone a smile, just as you're walking down the street might make all the difference in that person's day. And in that way we can help build other people's resilience too.
And that's very true, Kashyap. No, Kashyap. And so now I'm going to actually open up the floor here now. So we've talked about where we were, where we're at, where we're going. So now I'm going to open the floor up to see what are goals that anybody, if you were to say, someone were to make a phone, call you up or something like that. So I'm going to let everyone unmic themselves, and I'm just going to let everyone go ahead, and I'll go ahead and I'll be last. So whoever wants to start, what is one thing, being that this is mental health awareness, what is one thing you could actually help somebody, or you have helped somebody, if someone calls you, text, does a social media app, stuff like that, what is one thing that you could actually help them with that you might be very skilled in? What's something that you could actually help them with? So anyone want to start? You're welcome. Everyone has the floor, so whoever wants to start, you're welcome to go ahead. And
could you give an example of what you mean, please?
Sure, Denise. Sure. So, let's use this as an example. Let's say that let's just say, Denise, it's you and I message you on one of the social media apps and say, Denise, I'm really having a hard day, and I don't know who to talk to, and this and that. And would you have a few minutes just talk about? And maybe it could be someone just having a hard, maybe having a rough day, or maybe not to pick on Rebecca here. Maybe you just found out that a family member just wound up getting, now having, has to get MRI done, or maybe they have, a disease, something that might not be curable. What are things that, as a person, if they bring up some kind of a medical wise, I guess we'll say as the example, they call you up, say, I need to talk to you about this. I just need someone to talk to. I'm just having a rough day, having a hard time with this. Brian, you want to start out?
Well, excuse me, my chair makes this sound. Everybody that joins my live on TikTok knows this, but I have a question, and I want to be clear with this because I really am concerned that people might perceive this the wrong way. But mental health awareness month. Let's talk about social media. Let's talk about friendships that we gain on social media that sometimes we hold in higher regard than real life relationships. And does that condition of living within the social media world now create more depression? Does it create more depression when everyone you reach out to is this digital version of somebody through your phone instead of somebody that you can put your arms around and get a hug from, or, that can physically help you, that can physically show up and make sure that you're okay? That's one of my fears right now. I feel like we've ran into this digital social media world, and we are depending on people that we meet online to help keep us straight. And that's not theoretically straight. So that's one of my fears. That's what I fear. I fear whenever somebody reaches out to me with a real mental health emergency, that I can't actually do anything for them except for to give them my words and comfort. And for me, that's not enough. You know what I mean? For me, it needs to be somebody that shows up and says, I'm driving you to the hospital, or somebody, you know what I mean? And we're kind of devoid of those people. So that's my question.
If you don't mind, Denise, I wanted to reply to Brian and in regard to that fear. And your fear is not necessarily unfounded. I literally just like 2 days ago read an article from a neuroscientist who was talking about how he was worried that we were inadvertently causing changes to our brains that we weren't necessarily aware of by using phones in the ways that we do. And he just brought it to a point of not being fearful of it, but just being aware that, the way that we use stuff can change your brain, and it might change it like structurally in the long run. So, people can literally get addicted to the internet, just as much as they can get addicted to cocaine or whatever. So yeah, you're right to be a little fearful, but at the same time, don't let that fear bother you too much, because you noticed something that a neuroscientist also noticed, and he's on the case, it sounds like.
Well, again, I'm coming from a standpoint of I have had a following in the past where people, we all consider each other close friends, and when they reach out to me with a real medical emergency, I can't do anything. You know what I mean?
There are some things you can do, even if you can't physically go over there and help them. If you had to, you could call the local law enforcement and ask for them to do a welfare check, which is a scary thing to do, and it's a scary thing to have done to you. But if you know the person and they need to get to the hospital immediately, and you would have driven them there if you could have, sometimes that's the right thing to do. It's not easy. I've been in that boat myself before, having to make that kind of a call for someone before, and it's not easy, but that you can do that, and that is a function that unfortunately the police have had to do. But maybe someday in the future it'll be like an army of social workers out there that you would be calling instead of the police. But the police do have training in how to handle that. So even if you're not there, there are people that are trained that can handle that. You could even call a hospital and ask for their local recommendations on who they could call themselves. As the person that's experiencing the mental health trauma, they could you could potentially guide them to the right resources as well in their local area, but just by making a couple of phone calls.
I would add that, and I'm going to speak for myself, that like I joined TikTok at the beginning of April, but I live alone. My entire family does not live in this state. I don't have any friends in this city. All my friends were younger than me and they moved out to other cities. So COVID has been really hard on people as far as communicating, getting out in the world, because it's really hard to do that when you're not supposed to. So as we get our vaccinations and people start getting back out in the world, I think things will change a little bit. You know, of course, we're going to have some changes with the neurology of it, but I think a lot of that need to communicate and touch people is going to weigh more than talking through a phone or a computer.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah.
Rebecca, do you want to say anything at all? Did you want to put anything in at all or not? I know she's on mute over there. Do you want to say something else?
Just that, I appreciate being invited to this. It's pretty cool, it's nice to know, you're not alone, and that is, as much as you think that you're the only one going through something, and you hear, people have similar stories, and it kind of helps. So, yeah. That's all I wanted to.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you very much. Kasha, you're saying, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that you're never alone. Even if you're not anywhere near the people that are with you, there are always people out there with you somewhere. You just may not ever meet them, but someone somewhere that you've never met might pull a string that helps you somehow. You never know.
I was responding to that going, yeah, you're right. You can hear me because I'm muted, but you're right. But sometimes it just feels like this is the whole world, because I even work from home. So.
Well, can I ask a question? Because I feel like mental health, being Mental Health Awareness Month, as you've brought up, mental health becomes this unreasonably large category. You know what I mean? And it tends to affect every single person we know. And when a problem affects every single person we know, does it lose its specialness? Do we as human beings look around and go, well, okay, so you're having a tough time. And I'm playing devil's advocate here. Please trust me. I love, and I try to invest in everybody that I can. But does it get to the point where people say, well, your problems aren't so bad. You don't have it so rough. Why do I need to listen to you whenever I have much worse problems going on? You know what I mean? And that's the hurdle that we've got to figure out how to overcome as human beings. We've got to start saying, just because you're depressed and I'm depressed and I might have more reasons to be depressed than you, that doesn't mean that your depression doesn't need to be valued and have empathy towards.
There's a phrase that even psychiatrists will use at times as an analogy, and there's such a stigma to mental health right now that it's important to not devalue someone because of that stigma, but at the same time you're onto something that when it comes down to it, a psychiatrist might tell you that if you break your arm, you're going to go to the hospital and get it fixed most likely, and if you got something that's messed up with your head for a second, you should just probably go to the hospital real quick or talk to a psychiatrist. You don't have to go to the hospital for most routine mental health.
That's what I'm saying.
Issues.
If everybody's walking around with a broken arm, Like if everybody
Mhm.
has the same problem, if mental health is just this gigantic, very generic term that we use, and everybody has this problem, then nobody
Yeah,
has this problem. What happens in
we,
society is it ends up becoming nobody's problem because it's already everybody's problem.
the thing is that bringing awareness to it is key. Like we've made strides, I think, since since any of us were growing up. We've just constantly been making strides in mental health awareness. But a few years ago, in the African American community, it was still considered to be, according to like some of the studies I'd read, it was still considered to be a shameful thing. If you have a mental health problem, you're not supposed to talk about it, but you know it should be talked about. No different than like, oh man, I just broke my arm yesterday, or I sprained my thumb, or I pulled my stomach muscle, or any kind of routine thing that you wouldn't have a problem mentioning. The ideal, I think, from the perspective of mental health is that, yeah, I just had an episode of depression, unfortunately, and thankfully I was able to get it taken care of, and
Just
carried on with my life.
I just thought of something that was kind of funny that happened just yesterday with my 14-year-old daughter. I didn't realize she had messaged me on my phone. I didn't realize she didn't go into school yesterday, and her mom had messaged me and said, "Hey, your daughter's having a rough day. Maybe you should give her a call or check in with her because she's just having a breakdown, and I can't talk to her right now." And I was like, "Was she at home?" She's like, "Yeah, she's at home." So I messaged her, and she said that she took a mental health day. She's 14 years old. Like I'm 48 years old. I'm going to be that kind of grumpy old dad that's like, okay, listen, you're 14 years old. What the hell do you have to be worried about that, you need a mental health day? But the ironic thing of it was, and listen, we had a great conversation, and I did say that, and then she corrected me and said, you know what, at 14, my problems are just as big as your problems, which was awesome because my daughter's so smart for her to say that, saying at 14, my problems are just as big as your problems, Dad, and just that reminder. But I found out that there is actually an excuse to not go to school now because you need to have a mental health day. I mean, it used to be a joke, like where people wouldn't go into work and be like, I'm taking a mental health day, it's like, but you'd have to have a different excuse than that. You couldn't just say, hey, I don't want to go into work because I'm just not feeling it, but there was that's an actual excuse not to go to school, at least for her. It was saying, hey, listen, today I cannot deal with what's going to go on at school. I need to step away from it. And I was just like, as an old man, I'm like, I can't believe that that's actually a thing. But then I also thought, I'm glad that's a thing.
That's how dangerous our society is right now. We're so geared to high productivity and being the best in the world at everything that, yeah, kids are going to school and they're breaking their arms, in gym class, but they're also breaking their brains in math class, or in computer science class, or biology or chemistry, or, there are people that can just be crushed under the weight of that pressure, and it's not healthy. That's something else to be aware of is the level of intensity that, that we're going through, that as a culture, that even kids are affected by issues that you wouldn't expect to see except in an adult.
But as a dad, that's my question. As a dad that's older, I had to suffer through all of those emotional traumas in school. Listen, I had, the scary moments where, I was going to have to get into a fight with somebody, and he's going to meet me in the parking lot and all those things. And those, for a kid growing up, are incredibly traumatizing. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stress involved with going to school, and I had to survive those things. And I, as an old man, says the reason why I am as I am today is because I had to survive those things. And a part of me says, if you take those things away and don't make those challenges exist, these are children, and I get that, but they're children that are still developing reason. They're still developing social skills, how to combat, how to avoid combat. All of these different things have to be learned in this environment. And if you take all of those things away, there's a part of me, just a part of me that says you lessen that child's ability to grow up into a functioning adult. And I know that's super old person thing to say, like, get off my lawn, kids. But I do believe that some of surviving those challenges are important for development. Now, I will preference that with saying I'm never going to put my kids in a situation where they should cry or be afraid or things like that. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the everyday life of social involvement. You know what I mean? And that's what she was
Being
running
resilient.
away from. So
resilience
yeah.
is the psychology word for that.
So do we, you know, like whenever I told her, I said, hey, listen, you don't have you're 14, you don't have problems that would require for you to remove yourself from a social environment. And her response was, just because I'm 14, it doesn't mean that my problems are any less important than your problems. That hit me really hard. But I also realized that she only has what she's experienced so far to measure it against. Now, Becky and I and you, we all have a lot more life experiences to measure those traumas and that mental stability against. We know when we're going to typically become non-social. We know when we're doing things that are not engaging normally with the people around us. We recognize those moments that we're like, I know that I'm going off the deep end right now. So you know what I'm saying? Like, because we've had that reasoning part of our brain completely developed, even though mental health can affect that, we still know most of the time, even people that are suffering from severe bipolar disorder know when they're moving into that area where people start worrying about them, or they're going to screw up, or they shouldn't be around other people. I mean, we all feel those moments as adults. You know what I'm saying? And the original question was, how do we react to people around us? And I will share my actual answer. My actual answer is that I've dealt with a lot of friends of mine that come back from, that are combat veterans, and they've come back from very, very traumatizing PTSD. And I've had to several times remove a friend of mine from a social situation because I could recognize that they were going into an episode. You know what I mean? And so, like, literally physically grabbing them by the arm and just gently pulling them away from the environment and walking them out to a place where there is no noise and there is no things like, you know, things that are just adding on to that overstimulation, and just calmly saying, you're going to get through this. I'm going to stay right here with you until you get through it. Letting them go down on their knees and start crying, and I've seen it develop in many different ways, and I'm no therapist, but people outside that have never had the training or the experience within this, they look at that episode as scary. They look at it like, oh man, Jake's really losing it, and maybe we should call the cops. Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should do that. You know, sometimes just one-on-one, taking somebody to the side, letting them cry, letting them punch something, letting them be a little bit batty, letting them, you know, and I mean that very respectfully, but letting them bounce off of you, or letting them know that they're not alone, but they can go over to this corner and they can react without judgment.
I think that's definitely a overall a good idea. I would add a caveat that in the mental health world, they are first responders for mental health trauma. You know, people in the hospitals, people in clinics, people in social work environments, nurses, emergency room doctors, emergency room nurses, they're all really the first responders. We're witnesses or victims out here in the regular world. So really, like, you don't want to get too deep into like telling a person what to do. You might have to tell them what not to do. rather what not to do. um, but you do want to defer to the mental health professionals when it comes to telling someone what to do. So one thing that came to mind while you were speaking, that you know, you don't always have to go to the cops either. You know, you could, I know with some mental health providers, they have a nurse that's available on call, and you could just remind the person, you know, hey, just call your on call nurse real quick and make sure that, you know, have them make sure you're okay. You know, they have mechanisms in place at a lot of these institutions to actually help, you know, in an emergency. And if they then they'd say,
I don't disagree with you, but the problem is that we don't call the doctors when we're sick. I mean, we avoid the medical profession as much as, I mean, the majority of people. There's some people that, some people run every single time, but I can guarantee you, I could cut like 4 or 5 inches into my skin and have a very severe cut. I'm not going to the doctors to get it stitched up. I'm that person. You know what I'm saying? So like, people aren't going to always run to medical professionals, even for mental health. And so, empathy and awareness, and that's why this month exists, empathy and awareness, we have to have some tools that average everyday people can understand. I think that's how we get mental health awareness out there, is that we empower people with at least the same thing as life-saving CPR that we teach in school, that we have some type of basic life-saving mental health, you know, aspects that we can cover. I don't know what they are. I've never heard them. I've never heard anybody share them.
That's why I am so cautious about the idea of, you know, really intervening. You know, doing an intervention is an idea that people have, but, you know, doing interventions just on a whim is something that could be detrimental to someone's mental health. You know, you might inadvertently be triggering them. You might inadvertently be causing a reaction in their mind that you didn't intend to. And from, you know, no fault of your own, other than not having, you know, the 7 to 10 or 12 years of training that it takes to become a mental health professional. You know, they spend years and years learning little tricks, and then they spend the rest of their lives learning and developing new tricks to help people, you know, just by talking alone.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but my specific example that I was bringing up was combat veterans PTSD. I do have training within that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I was talking specifically about my friends that have this PTSD.
I think that's great. If we had something like that, like in a mental health training session for every physical health training session you get in high school, you know?
Yeah.
Something like that would probably be quite helpful. But you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
I unmute myself. There we go. I got to actually unmute myself. I'm the host here. So as we actually these guys, I appreciate you guys connect back and forth. Yeah, let's touch a little more on social media. I mean, to be honest, social media with you know, with the mental health, and then we also got COVID, people wearing masks, some people not wearing masks, some people getting vaccines, not getting vaccines. You know, there's all these things that scare people that, you know, you think of all these supposed, you know, oh, this could happen, that could happen, you know, blah, 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 you know, and it takes mental health to a whole new level. And Brian brought this up earlier, was with social media, is that you're not connecting in person. You're just connecting via a phone, via a computer, via some electronic device, you know. So you it is good in a way. I do agree with that, but sometimes maybe actually getting out, and I understand with COVID, it does make it a lot harder. Some people, you know, the biggest thing is, and I've noticed people too, is the mental health thing, is that this whole wearing a mask thing. I hear a lot of people, I mean, I just run into people I don't even know, even at people at work, you know, that I see every day. and they said, you know, I hear it a lot that it drives them nuts, you know, and it makes them kind of, you know, just crazy about stuff that, you know, we want to go back to no mask, go be able to touch people, high five them, give them a hug, you know, do all the normal routines we did, you know, as human beings. And it does drive people. I mean, I can tell you sometimes it does, you know, some days I can see people are awesome and some days people are just, holy crap, you know, just like, why are they, you know, that way? And a lot of them come back to the mask, you know, a lot of them will blame the mask, you know, their mental health, you know, is unstable due to wearing a mask. Well, again, we were recommended by the CDC to do this until we can get this under control with vaccines. You know, we had something coming, I guess, but you know what?
That's an interesting point.
You know, so what is social, like, you know, these topics, social media and in COVID, vaccines, testing, everything like that, you know, how does that, you know, wearing a mask every day, how does that affect, you know, certain people that have to do it? Now, not everyone has to. Some people are actually able to work from home. That's awesome. As the guest host, I actually have to be out in public and actually work and see people all day long. So, but majority of people actually do wear a mask. But I hear a lot of people that just, you know, they just like, you know, I need to take a day off here or there, just so I don't have to wear a mask at work. And you could tell their stability and their mental health is just, it's deteriorated by just that mask sometimes, you know. But I'm going to open up the floor on those and let you guys go with it. So anyone who wants to start, go ahead. So.
You know me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You spoke first.
I am a total jerk when it comes to this conversation because COVID, politics, all of these things, it seems to continue to push us into a us versus them conversation over and over and over again. And I feel like so many people have felt alienated by their family, their friends, you know, people they trusted, because of differences in perceived values of things, whether it's valuing masks and whether you fall on the side of, you know, wearing masks will save lives, or, you know, wearing masks is dumb and it's against my freedom and all this other kind of stuff. And I think that if COVID did anything good, if we're going to just stay positive, if COVID did anything good, it at least forced a large predominance of, God, I hate to use the word, but those people on that anti-mask side, because they were quarantined and they were not allowed to go back to work and their kids were forced to stay home, and all these things they were subject to is things that people with mental health issues sometimes deal with every day of their lives. Isolation and inability to, you know, I'm not peopling today, or inability to be out in large crowds and all these different things. It forced some of those people, God, I hate using that so much, but it forced them to have a forced empathy moment. You know what I mean? And experience what some people with mental health conditions go through every day of their lives.
And that, Brian, that's a very good point. I mean, you know, it does mean it's which side, left, right, up, down, whichever direction you're going in. I mean, it's, to be honest with you, yes. I mean, you know, it does take a strain on you. Wearing a mask does take mental health to a next level that we've never experienced. You know, I mean, I understand in the 1920s they had the Spanish flu and they had to wear them for 2 years. I mean, so people had a mental health, you know, there was probably a lot of breakdowns there. And then kids are, you know, some kids are going back to school finally, but they were having mental health problems. I mean, you talked about your 4-year-old, Brian. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I hear from parents at the place I work for with their kids just having mental breakdowns just by the minutes. They just can't handle not interacting with other students, seeing their friends, you know, doing this online thing that everyone thought was the, you know, greatest thing in the world is actually hurting not just adults, but kids alone too. It's, you know, it's a, you know, there's not an easy and I'm glad to see schools are opening up. They're getting the kids back. They're trying to, without doing online. I mean, I've heard of some parents that just say they are going to start homeschool because it's a lot safer for them. Well, again, that's your decision. And if you feel that the mental health of everyone around is going to be safer that way, that's fine. But Kasha, if you wanted to put a little information on that, please, by all means.
Yeah, thanks. And I just wanted to apologize for interrupting. I struggle with the back and forth of communication sometimes, so I've honed my skills a bit on that. But I do apologize. I'm still getting used to the whole Zoom conversation thing as well. But yeah, you both brought up fantastic points. Like, not only do some people get mentally traumatized by wearing a mask, but there are some people who get mentally freed by wearing a mask, and some people feel less safe with a mask. Some people feel more safe with a mask. So, it just reinforces in my mind the idea that everybody's different. And, while yes, if we're talking about like ignoring everything else, if we're talking about just a mask, should you wear a mask? Yes or no? Science says, well, yeah, you probably should. But if you don't ignore everything else, there's a lot of gray in there, like, do you really need to wear a mask if you're standing outside with no one around? Do you need to, if there's one person standing there 30 feet away, 20 feet away, 10 feet away, etc.? There's a lot of gray. And I think, this is our first time in America dealing with masks. Overseas in Asia, where they've been dealing with these kinds of respiratory viruses for so long, they're used to it. Masks are, just a part of life now. So, it might change that it eventually becomes a part of life where, yeah, you might get made fun of if you wear a mask, but there's still people smiling under their masks sometimes that you're sweet. I don't have to actually try to smile everywhere.
I mean, and that does bring up good points. It's in the good points. Some people love wearing a mask. Some people don't. It's kind of hit and miss. To me, I will tell you, I like wearing a mask. It does kind of cover up my face a little bit. Kind of does give me a little more protection. When the mask thing is done, I guess depending on where I go, what I do, maybe I will wear it once in a while myself, just for safety concerns. Maybe and that doesn't, and that's true, Kasha. I mean, Japan, China, a lot of the Asian countries, they've had so many different airborne and also, diseases. And you've seen a lot in the world news. You'll see a lot where you'll see people actually have to wear a mask because it's hard. There could be some going around where they need this area or this region or this section to all wear a mask just to cover, make sure that they don't get it, and something could happen. I mean, Japan, not to pick on Japanese, but you see it a lot. Like I said, it's a big thing over there. Their federal government makes it mandatory if a certain area is actually under some kind of disease or flu that makes them actually have to wear a mask. They don't have a choice. They don't have the constitutional rights like they do in America, but people will brag about their religious freedoms or their Declaration of Independence and everything else, where it has nothing to do with this. It has to do with the science and what is going on in the world. So,
just to be clear, there's no constitutional right that tells you don't have to wear a mask. There's nothing written in the Constitution about that.
Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
I'm adding a little bit of humor to this, but
no, that's fine. And
another thing is in talking about mental health awareness and putting, and I'm not getting on to you about the topic, but putting in a conversation about whether or not wearing a mask is going to make you, I mean, old man, get off my lawn statement again. At some point we have to say that's not an issue that we should be being depressed over. Put a damn mask on, help save your neighbor, whatever. And maybe this is just me being insensitive, and you guys can say, hey, that's insensitive. But, I think it takes away from the conversation of real mental health issues. Like, it takes away from the conversation of people that are suffering from real depression, not because of COVID or because of being quarantined or any of these kinds of things, but because they have a broken arm scenario that we just talked about. They have a mental illness. I can't give the same credibility to Joe Bob that just doesn't want to wear a mask to the Piggly Wiggly as I give to somebody that's legitimately suffering from depression. You know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying here?
Yeah,
Because I feel like it takes away from
of,
somebody that's actually suffering.
Yeah, you're totally right, and I think it's important from a mental health perspective to clarify that people aren't necessarily mentally ill, like they have an illness. They're a person with an illness, and also I think they're trying to get away from mental illness as a word to some extent, but there's not much else to replace it right now. But it's struggling as a word. Let's put it that way. So you don't want to call people ill necessarily, and some people might not have a mental illness. They might have a neurological condition, that causes them to experience pain and suffering through depression or through anxiety. And other people might be experiencing life stress, and that can cause depression and anxiety too. Just life or work stress alone, or COVID. So you're right. It can take away from people who have neurological issues that are the source of the problem. But at the same time, you shouldn't necessarily denigrate people for having a stress-induced illness either. Yeah, I think that's some of what I wanted to say on that.
Yeah, and the DSM-5, which identifies most of the conditions that fall within mental health and mental illness, and I know we don't like to use that term. I mean, it started out as a pamphlet, and now it's 800 pages deep, right? It started out as something that could sit in the doctor's office in a shelf.
And that's just the American version. There's a European version.
Pamphlet, and now it's this novels and novels and novels of mental health conditions. When do we start treating it like a real? When do we, as Americans, because that's the only thing I can speak on, start treating mental health as a real health issue? Because there is very few other conditions that we suffer from that has this amount of pages devoted to it. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, you can say that it's all made up and look at everybody's just trying to find everything wrong in the world. But the reality is that science and medicine and medical doctors have identified it as probably the most predominant problem from what I understand, American society, and based off of the information that's put into the DSM-5, very much classifies mental health as probably a pandemic larger than things that we've recently had to deal with. We've got 22 soldiers coming back to America from all over the world right now. All of our soldiers are coming back. Every day, 22 American soldiers take their lives because of PTSD, directly associated with post-traumatic stress disorder. And suicide, because of post-traumatic stress disorder, is obviously a mental health issue. But the Army and Navy and all the medical professionals within our armed services, very, very small amount of resources are dedicated to that.
I would say that in this vein, and I don't really mean to be this morbid, but it's going to take the right person to die. And I don't mean like the average everyday American. But
who's the right person? I want to interrupt you just because I love you and you know that I mean this. Is it Robin Williams? Is that the right person?
No,
You know
I
what
wish
I mean?
it was, because we'd be dealing with this more seriously.
Yeah. Is it? I mean, who's the right person? Because we've lost so
Well,
many people to mental health issues.
I was going there. It's going to have to affect people higher up than Robin Williams and Sonny Bono. I'm talking like someone,
like a president, or something like
really,
I mean, it's
really
hard to
those
imagine who gets bigger than movie
billionaires.
celebrities, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't
As
wish
long as we still view mental health issues as a weakness, we will discredit who. It doesn't matter how high that person is. They will be discredited as soon as it's done because of a mental health issue. And that's the problem. You know what I
unless they
mean?
kill people.
And that's already been every single shooting that we have. Mental stability is the number one thing they bring up, you know, with
And
these
again,
shootings
I'm-
and stuff. I don't know. We're getting into an unsolvable conversation. But I agree with you, Denise. I
it's a
100%
conundrum.
agree with you.
Yeah, it's a conundrum. It's just you got to keep turning the Rubik's cube until you get all the colors right.
I think you might have seen. I really hesitate to bring this topic up, but you might have seen. I think Nancy Pelosi speaking to the news media shortly after the Capitol riots. I think, or before. I can't recall. But at one point, she was speaking to the news to let people know that the launch codes were safe. So yeah, like if we're talking, it needs to be something bigger than like a movie celebrity that's known around the world. The only thing I can think of are things like the Cold War, or the clock that's almost at midnight, and world-ending destruction. That level of thing happening should be terrifying.
Yeah.
Having we should not have to wait for that to actually happen.
One would hope.
Right.
Well, I think, and I want to just interject that, like, one of my problems with social media, which was the original question, and living through this digital world that we've created around us, is that we all become armchair warriors, and we're all capable of having an opinion to share with each other, just like we're doing here. And we all feel empowered to have our opinions heard. And we all feel that we have a protected team of people that we can exist within. But we have forgotten that it is not an us versus them conversation. It is a us versus us conversation. And we lack the ability to figure out how to get back into a functional, real world, engagement. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the thing that I worry about mental health and mental health awareness, is that if we keep living strictly in this box, whether it's on our desk or in our hand, and we feel that every important connection and relationship we have is within this box, I think that is a huge gateway to real depression, whenever you need somebody to be there. So my question is, can we reach out and live a real life again, at least with one or two people, and reach out and say, I need to see you and have lunch with you, and I need to be with you, and I need to give you my phone number, and I need to give you a key to my place in case I have a severe issue, and I need you to do the same so that if you have an issue, I can go help you. You know what I mean? Getting real people back involved in our lives, I think that has to be an answer. That has to be part of the answer. You know what I'm saying?
Can I throw something back at you? So this whole society, like, grief that we have going on these days, like society's broken, that idea.
Yeah.
In the military, it sounds like you have military background of some extent or the other. But they have simulations for how to go to war, right? And they have video game simulations even. On one level, maybe what we're doing with social media is just training ourselves how to be good people again and have a good society. And maybe, there's something else on the other side of the phone that we just haven't gotten to yet.
This is all very true. Guys. I'm actually going to introduce one of our new guests. Actually, it's showing up. Actually, that's on the other side of the world. And as soon as she actually unmutes herself, Miss Caitlin, I'm actually going to introduce her. And she's actually from way across. So we're actually 16 hours. She's 16 hours ahead of us in the, unless I'm wrong, Caitlin, give me wrong, Sydney, Australia. And that is I believe, somewhere in the either western or northwestern part of the country of Australia. Now she actually will tell us international wise. Hi, Caitlin. How are you?
I'm actually in South Sydney.
Okay, South Sydney. So I was close. I mean, off maybe by a few kilometers, maybe, I don't know, whatever it is, but so how here's my question. Now, these are all my friends. We have Kasha, Brian, my little sister Letty, Denise, and Rebecca are all from the United States of craziness. So that's where we're from. That's where we're located. And so how is here the question I started with, how is your mental health from when you first started? I talked about myself when I started out, and I knew I was transgender years ago, dragged my feet, had some really dark places in my life. Where have you started? Where did you notice you had a lot of mental health problems, and where did you finally decide this is it? I'm going to stop. Someone kick me in the butt, someone move me forward. And how have you progressed, and where are you at now?
With my transition?
You can talk about anything from the beginning to the, however you want to do it.
Oh, I guess because we've talked before, so you know a bit about it. So, yeah, so I've known that ever since I was a child, I was more female. But back in the 90s, we never really talked about it. So I always try to be happy as a male. Even with my boyfriend, we've been together 14 years now. Don't know how. And so up until 2017, I tried to do everything to be happy as a male. I played football as a kid, played baseball. I'm sorry, my grandma's calling on my mobile phone.
It's okay. Take your time, Caitlin. It's okay. Sometimes it gets to be a little, mental health is a hard thing to talk about. So it's fine. You got to take a breath, dear. It's fine. This is okay.
And I actually still enjoy watching baseball. Sydney Blue Sox.
Are they actually doing all right? This is a quick question, even though it's not about mental health. Are they actually doing all right? Actually, I mean, I haven't watched the game lately, but.
Oh, yeah, they're doing fine. They're resting quite well.
That's good. All right, so
I'll see it at the moment.
So from where you are now and with your partner, do you feel that you are moving in the right direction now and going forward mentally, not just physically, but mentally?
Oh, mentally, my emotions in the last 6-7 weeks have been fucked. Like really screwed. Like I haven't really been leaving the house that much. But it's more like the borderline personality sort of side of things. And last week being playing up with a tongue piercing, as
Yeah.
Got cut out with bolt cutters. Fun. Which I feel naked about. And then got the memory loss. So yeah.
So here's my question, Caitlin. How do you deal with, we all have our day-to-day routines. How does, my routine might be different from yours and from Denise, from Rebecca, from Brian. What are things that you can do to actually better yourself as when you wake up? Granted, it's actually the Friday morning over there, so you're ahead of the game. Well, yes. So for you, it is. We're still in Thursday evening. We haven't got to Friday yet. Someday soon we'll get there. But so what do you do on a day-by-day basis? And what are things in Australia as a country? What are accessibly things that you can access? Like maybe United States, they have 211. That's the phone number to call for any kind of mental health problems or.
Well, I'm linked in New South Wales in our state. During the day, every hospital has their own mental health acute care team. So I'm not sure. I think then after that, it's like a whole New South Wales statewide phone number. And I've been contacted so many times. Every time my address comes up, they just know where to go. It's like, yeah, Caitlin, that girl's probably suicide again.
So have you done things to better yourself from, now I will say now on a mental health standpoint, I've actually interacted a lot with Caitlin. I mean, I've known her for about 5 months. I mean, I know she's had some rough patches there. And first of all, I'd like to thank you, and I also like to thank everyone else. I'm glad that everyone is pushing through. This is just as a guest host, I do appreciate everyone still choosing to be alive. This is one thing I will say. So, Caitlin, I wanted to also thank you for sticking around and not, go ahead.
The one thing
It's not easy.
The one thing I've done for myself to stop me from making attempts is, well, that tattoo. My story isn't over yet. On my arm, which has stopped me a few times.
It's beautiful.
And I've got mental health first aid, more active in the community. So, as Claire knows, I volunteer with the local state emergency service. As you see my background, I helped out with the Anzac Day March the other week.
Congratulations. Great job. Great job, by the way, Caitlin. Great job.
Yeah. Got to tell off the local Channel 9 News and thought it was fun.
Go ahead, Caitlin. No, go ahead.
What are you gonna say?
No, you go ahead first here.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't really like media.
Well, I could tell you here that this podcast actually broadcasted all over the world. So actually, you will actually be able to hear this. You'll hear yourself, which is great. I mean, I actually am very proud of it. What is you work with a I believe a state or federal organization that's called
State.
State. Okay.
Yeah, the state. So
And-
like each state has their own.
Okay.
So like Queensland has their own state emergency service. New South Wales has their own. Which talking to my father a couple of months ago, and he's like, "Did you know that Queensland was the first one that has the first Queensland state emergency service?" I'm like, "Yeah, I would believe that Queensland would be the first one to have the Queensland state emergency service." That's like, would you believe that New South Wales was the first one to have the New South Wales state emergency service? It's not owned by the Australian government, Dad.
So what Caitlin's referred to is there is actually a division called the SES, and that's based in Australia. Now I don't know the background on all because Caitlin is actually the professional behind it, but it's similar to what we have in the States of like if you had like emergency situations, it's kind of similar to like a combination of FEMA and then also like your police and fire departments. That's kind of what the combination is. There are fire departments, this and that, but now, Caitlin, this is the big question. This is what I really want to know. Does SES, now I believe you and I talked about this, do they actually help people in with like mental health awareness month, which is going on, and it's not just in the States, but all over the world. Do they actually help and assist people when need be during, or have you ever done this? That's another question to bring up.
If we're out on a job and it's a person who needs assistance at the time, okay, it's like I myself is mentally fit. I got mental first health aid trained. So I could do it. So as long as the member is trained to do it, we can render that assistance. If you're not, no. But so we don't really step out of the boundaries of our training, because everything we do would be reported to the New South Wales coroner. So if you do something and that person dies, then you're accountable for it.
Ooh, wow. Ooh.
Wow.
Yikes.
That's why I talk to a lot of trans people on Messenger when they get depressed. And the first thing I always ask is, how are you feeling now? Do you feel safe? And that's basically me protecting myself, saying, in case afterwards, an hour later, they go and commit suicide, then the police come ask me and go, what happened? They were talking to you, but then later they killed themselves. Well, I asked them, what's happening? And now they're dead. Well, I asked them. They didn't present anything saying they were going to do anything, so I didn't report it. There was no reason for it.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Kasha. Sure. You have a question for
Caitlin, I think,
Okay,
because
Caitlin.
I don't know if she was here whenever we were talking earlier about what can we do as non-trained professionals. What can we do? Do you have an idea of what a regular person, what a lay person, so to speak, could do?
Kasha, you're a little bit cutting out there with your microphone. Could you get up a little closer to your mic there, Richard?
I'm so sorry about that. I stepped outside for a moment. Is this a little bit better?
That's better. Okay, so your question is for Caitlin. All right, so go ahead. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about what can we do as individuals, as non-professionals. What can we do to help someone? And I was wondering if you had any suggestions for from the perspective of not causing strife with the coroner. What could we do for someone? Should we call the SES immediately, or what would you
SES.
recommend?
Or even SES, even me, I'm not a trained professional. My job is I see the person, I see them in distress, and it's there. I get them to the professional. Okay, you feel depressed. I got to get you to a stage where, hey, yep, let's get you some help.
So you're like triage. What we would call
it's
triage.
triage, mental health, first aid, like medical first aid, mental health first aid.
Right. That makes sense.
So I'm not technically a psychologist. But I can get you, I know I got the training to get you there to see that there's distress and get you to get the help. But we do have like a peer support in SES for members who have trouble.
See, and to me, I'm just saying this to the group in general, and Caitlin included. I think to me, not just America, but I think we need to start looking into how other countries are handling mental health and what they have available. Now, what Caitlin's talking about, I think that's a great idea with people actually being, trained, and maybe we need it in our department. Not so we need more stuff to the state and federal levels, it's the states, but I think that's something that actually needs to be, brought up. We need to get people trained in certain situations. I understand there should be a crisis person available with a lot of law enforcement in the states. There should be a lot of people that just can't handle life, and it's hard. It's very hard. And I think that's a big, and Caitlin, I applaud you for that. Sometimes I do talk to a lot of different transgender people myself, and I always, try to give them, make sure they know that they're going to be okay. There's always the number to call. Never take that risk. Please don't. But I don't interact as much. Maybe Caitlin, you probably do a lot more than I do. I just do once in a while. But I have a small group, and I try to make sure everyone stays in a safe point, a safe check, kind of.
Yeah. Like if I think someone might need to talk, I'll open the door. If they say no, then I was like, okay, no worries. If you need to talk, my door's open. I will never force it open. I will never force it onto them.
And you would never want to force someone that was mentally, where they feel and themselves are mentally not stable. They don't feel safe. That would be a very, I would never want to see anyone hurt themselves or, do the wrong thing that would take themselves out. Yes, sir, Brian.
Well, I think there's, again, we're talking about mental health as this massive category. And I'll go back to our earlier conversation of education, and Mental Health Awareness Month to me is kind of ironic in that, yes, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. You need to be aware that, mental health issues exist, but we're not training people to have a basic understanding of, let's say, the top 5. And I don't know what those would be, but let's say, bipolar disorder, severe depression, which can come from a lot of different things. It can come from a lot of it could come from life trauma. It can come from just social, issues. It can come from racial issues. It can come from, 1,000 different directions. So training to me is general education about how to respond to somebody. I'll give you a small example with just depression. One of the worst things you can ask somebody that's obviously very depressed is, what can I do to help? Because somebody that's suffering from depression now has the added anxiety and depression of affecting that other person with their own problems. And that doesn't help somebody suffering from depression. Somebody that's already feeling at the bottom of their cycle and feeling like their life is adversely affecting everybody else's does not want to have somebody say, what can I do to help? But that's the thing that we all reactively say, you know what I mean? And so that as an example is, what can you do for somebody that's really depressed, that it's their bottom of their cycle and they're at the bottom of this depressive cycle? What is the thing that 9 times out of 10 works? And my thing has always been humans. The fact that you're not allowed to quit, which is something that I heard on TikTok from TikTokers and stuff, but it's really true. When you tell somebody, hey, listen, I know that you're way down there right now. I'm not going to ask you what can I do to help, but I am going to tell you that I'm telling you you're not allowed to quit right now. You know what I mean? That's not an option, because
I wouldn't say that.
You know what I mean? That's not an option. It's just a human being saying, don't take that option. I don't want you to do that. Even in a aggressive way, sometimes is the difference, that they need just for that moment. And the moment, and when you're in that moment, you don't know that it's going to get better. You don't know, you think it could get worse. There's lots of things, but just a human being saying, you're not allowed to quit right now. Okay. I know this sucks right now. I'm not going to try to tell you a joke or make it better or blow rainbows out your butt. I'm going to tell you that I love you and you're not allowed to quit right now. And things like that. I don't know that would be an actual rule, but we need to have some basic understanding of how to deal with the top 5, top 10 mental illnesses as a society.
That's for sure.
That's completely true, Brian. We need to start, we need to find that list. We need to get those crisis intervention personnel, is what they're actually called. They actually do have a name for them. Not all are actually in work in process yet, because it actually still is the beginning stages, but there is people out there that we need to start educating more people And when they need to talk, like Caitlin said, if they get it, you need to talk, the door's there. If it's a phone call
Yeah.
away, something like that. We need to have more people available, not just, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We need people to be available, all the time, because you could have, some going at home, and then so you go to work, and then things just completely get worse, and all of a sudden we're going spiraling right down a hole that we don't want to be in, this dark hole alone. Gosh, go ahead.
Thanks. One trick that I know of through experience is that you could potentially simplify things and boil things down to the idea of find what makes that person feel better, and then just keep doing that. Find what makes them feel better and do that. Find what makes them feel better. Do that again. And then if you just keep doing that over and over, eventually they're going to feel better.
That's true.
It could be as simple as that,
Well, I think that we get into a problem when we believe that there's somebody else better equipped or available to deal with the person that we know.
Right.
I think
that is a problem.
We've walked away as a society. Like in America, we have the suicide prevention hotline, and that's the only thing that the majority of us know. But I guarantee you that if you need to get that number to somebody, you're going to Google it. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to go find that, right? And it's easier for us to say, hey, I'm gonna go get this number for you, and then give them a number and say, call this number. But it's hard for us to go push in their door and not talk to them, see them laying on the couch, crying, covered up, and laying down next to them and wrapping your arms around them and holding them and just saying, I'm not leaving you right now. I'm just not going to leave you right now. There are hard things that need to be done. And as a society, I think we need to get back into the mindset that sometimes we have to do the hard things. It's our job to do the hard things as a human being.
Yeah, we're not allowed to quit, and you shouldn't take the easy way out, right? Those are two phrases that can be helpful.
And in a society where we feel that every single thing around us is controlled for us, I mean, we really do feel like we're cogs in the machine sometimes. And as a society, like when you're really depressed and you feel like you have no control over anything that's happening in your life, sometimes suicide is the one thing that you think to yourself, this is something I can control. It's the only thing I can control. You know what I mean? And I've been in that place. I've been there saying, I need all of this to quit so badly, but there's nothing I can do to control the things that I need to quit, so I can control this. And that's really the dark place that anybody that's ever been in that situation, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody's here has been at that point where they're saying, this is the only thing I can control, I'm willing to take my own life. That's the problem, is that we as a society believe that we don't control anything anymore. We don't control our jobs. We don't control our coworkers. We don't control the bad things that are happening to us. We don't control the pandemic. We don't control our access to our kids or not access to our kids. We don't control any of these things. It's all controlled for us. So this is the only thing I can handle. And that is a
Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D helped me. Like, whenever I got to that point in my depression episodes, whenever I get that seriously depressed, it's like I always keep that as my fallback option. Okay, well, what would I rather do? In some way, shape, or form, try to answer a question along those lines of, okay, yeah, I can always, I know I can take my own life, but what else could I be doing instead? That's helped.
And
scary place.
And it's true. And I will tell you guys, sorry, Kosh, I have to cut you off there, but I've heard this statement said again and again, and I've actually heard two stories actually from two veterans. But one actually, this one actually hit close to home, and this one actually will take anyone for a loop. And this one hurts. Is there are cemeteries everywhere around the world with people that wish they had a second chance instead of committing suicide. That's true. That is a fact. Those people that wish they would have had someone reach out to, would have never did what they did, and wish they would have had a second chance to be alive. Yes. I mean, that's very true. That is very, it's sad, it's depressing, it's gory. I don't know. I mean, it stings,
On the flip side too, whenever you lose someone to depression or suicide in general, that's just as bad. Like, what could I have done different? Like, could I have been that person that had said the thing that made the difference? It can hurt both sides of the grave, I guess.
And that's very true. And it's even harder when I actually listen to it. Actually, this is actually on a TikTok video that my friend actually shared. And actually, I'm going to actually duet this one just because I want people to notice this. That there was a gentleman from the Vietnam War that was going to take a knife and take himself out. Now, I'm guessing the gentleman had to be in his really late 70s, early 80s to be in the Vietnam War. And this guy couldn't handle it. He kept on having flashbacks. He couldn't handle it. He was having a breakdown. The 911 operator did a marvelous job, helped him get where he had to go. He got help. Okay. The 911 operator asked him to put the knife in the sink. I mean, this right there alone, you hear that. That means he was contemplating, he was ready, he had a plan, and his plan was to exit and leave, not in his choice, but because some demons got to him and said it's time, and I'm glad that he got help. Now, granted, past that information, I'd like to actually research more into it. And wherever that gentleman is in America or the world, God bless him. And I'm hoping that he's getting the help and he needs help. I mean, that's scary. That's scary, and it could be anywhere, anywhere in the world. This could happen to anybody. I mean, you can go to war, you could fight fires. There's things where you just yikes, just start, be an EMT, try to save a person's life. This is all takes a toll on you. I mean, it does. So, all right, I'm going to open the floor up. So I think I'm going to pause myself right there. And does anyone want to get into more, anything else we need to talk about our mental health month? I cannot speak this evening. Apparently I got tongue tied apparently.
Oh, you've only been talking for like an hour and a half or so,
Well, it does feel like mental hell too.
We're talking about how you approach people.
Yes, I can.
I've been looking at the mental health first aid book that I always take around with me, and I'll read from it. And it says about the action plan. It goes by, how the first aid is D, R, A, B, C, D. In mental health first aid, it's A, L, G, E, E. So A is approach the person, assess and assist with any crisis. L, listen and communicate non-judgmentally. G, give support and information. E, encourage the person to get appropriate professional help. And then the last E, encourage other supports. It's the basic plan for any depression. People you approach with people with depression.
Caitlin,
that helps.
This does. I thank you very much. Is there anything else that you wish to share on that at all? Because that actually is a very good point. This is why I say you can't just have your friends local. You need to branch out and be, as ZZ Top would say, to be nationwide and all over the world, because that's true. You learn something from someone else in some other part of the, globe. These are good. These are very good points. And
just like on the Facebook page, we both admin.
And there's actually some groups that actually Caitlin and I are actually responsible for that are actually based like strictly, and we're gonna, we try to, it's not just Australian, we try to base it all over the world. People, we try to get it in different different genres. Maybe we have people that maybe they're gamers, or maybe people that just generally would just like to talk or something like that. Just to make sure we get the word out and show people that, hey, by the way, you're not alone. You're not just in your, country. That this is a problem. This is a worldwide problem we need to solve together. Brian, you wish to follow up?
Well, I do, and I'm just going to say this, but this will be my last. In my life, and I don't know if this helps anybody else, but in my life, I choose to be the help that I need. I choose to find people that need the same type of help that I need. Because going out there and serving others, I think helps you. I really honestly believe that if you know that you're suffering, and you know that whether it's bipolar disorder, whether it's depression, whether it's manic, whatever those things are, if you look in your community for people that need the same type of support that you need, I think that it is incredibly enriching, and it helps you get through your own problems later on. It helps you realize that you're not alone, and that as much as sometimes we want to hang our uniqueness on our mental health problems, sometimes we say, well, I'm this way because I'm this way. If you go out there in your community and you serve others within that same category that you classify yourself in or have been diagnosed in, I think it's gonna really help you get through those moments better, because you know that you're not alone. You know that other people are suffering from this as well, and you yourself are important to those people. They need you. It goes back to the idea of you're not allowed to quit, because if people need you, then everybody says this, if it wasn't for my kids, I wouldn't be here anymore. If it wasn't for my parents, I wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for these people that I don't want to leave alone, I wouldn't be here anymore. You gotta serve your community and step up and help people that need the same type of help that you need, in my opinion.
I would add to that like for me, the thing that works to shut off that whole thing that's going on in my head sometimes is to do something that focuses me on that. Like, you've seen my boxes. I decorate and paint cigar boxes, and I can sit down. One time I sat down and I started at 5:30 at night, and I finished it at 5:30 in the morning, and my brain was totally focused on just that. And I felt more refreshed, even though I hadn't slept, than I had in a long time, because everything was shut down. And
that's a powerful technique of wax on and wax off from Karate
Yes.
Kid, right?
yeah.
1984, just the date, everybody. not saying none of us are actually. We're all still in our like 20s and 30s here, so don't worry, we're all okay. A little bit, don't worry about. We'll be fine.
57. I'm proud of that.
That's fine, Denise. If you want to, that's fine. I'm still gonna rock my 34, and I'm gonna be happy with that.
I think I saw it on VHS.
Yes, Caitlin.
Yeah. Back in
Oh,
the
you
day.
guess your age. Oh yeah, Caitlin's. Yeah, she's the same age as me. So yeah, so there we go.
35.
Yeah, 30. Well, 34, 35. I was close, but
Do
I said
you
we're all
mind if
rocking our
I-
20s and 30s. We're gonna rock that, so that's okay though. But you know what? Rebecca's the only one that's been kind of quiet over in her corner. Rebecca, do you actually have anything that you like to say at all? Because you've been kind of quiet the whole entire time, dear. So
Oh, yeah, I know. I've just been kind of listening and trying to prevent a cat fight from happening, because there's like four cats over here. So mine's the instigator, so I have to kind of just listen and make sure nobody gets hurt.
Oh geez. Oh geez. I mean, is there anything that you want to talk about with the men? Anything? I guess this is the question. This is probably good. Everyone can take their mics off. We can just kind of go right around the room here. What is everyone's plan starting? Let's say starting now. Now, Caitlin, you are in tomorrow, which is our tomorrow. You're today. You're to whatever it is. But so, what is everyone's plan? I'll start. We'll call on everybody's name, so everyone can take their mic off. And we'll start with Denise, and then I'll go to Rebecca, Kasha, Caitlin, and Brian. What is your goal now with mental health? Things maybe you want to do for somebody, do for yourself. Denise, that's a great, again, crafting thing, something that can take you off reality just to do something fun. I agree. Sometimes I've had friends myself, I will tell you right now, that have literally been like, I've kind of been in a rough place here and there. They'll be like, they call me up, hey, by the way, we're coming to get you. We're going for a ride. We're going to go so-and-so, whatever else. And that's what they did. That's it. COVID or not, we all wear a mask in the vehicle. We're going to go and have fun. We didn't really do nothing. Maybe went for a hike or something like that. But it was just enough to get that, that out of my brain. That's good, So Denise, what are your thoughts on, where you're going to, from here going forward? How can you, help yourself get better, any things you can do, mentally, physically?
Well, I've promised my doctor that I would start standing for 1 minute every day, every hour during my work time. So I need to get to continue to do that. I have tomorrow off, so I'll probably finish the book I'm reading. I read a lot, and I need to get my groceries. So I'm just going to try to do life stuff for the next few days.
Now, one thing I'm going to ask Denise before we go to Rebecca is there any goals that you have for yourself, or any goals you'd like to wish to anyone on actually the podcast this evening that you'd like to see? And maybe my boss, when he comes out vacation, will actually let me guest host another one, and maybe we can actually talk about, in a few months, what those goals were and how you've met them. We can talk about that stuff down the way.
Well, one of the doctors on TikTok, she saw some of my boxes and wanted one made. And she actually she's a psychiatrist that works with the vets. And so I'd like to be able to finish that and have it sent to her, because she's really working hard to get the vets to talk to her right now.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. That's beautiful. My hope is maybe, Denise, that maybe, someday that, maybe I'm going to have to buy one of your fancy cigar boxes, to be honest, just to try to, we always say, I always like to try to make sure we always leave on a happy smile. I always try to do that, but that's something I definitely will have to look into myself, Denise. I will tell you. Is there anything else that you like to, end with it all on that?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. That's right. All right. So Rebecca, now we're going to put you in the spotlight, dear. also known on TikTok, everyone as Captain Obvious. So
Oh, I know you.
That's Rebecca. Yeah. So that's Rebecca, everybody. So we do have a few TikTokers here. I'm actually Miss Care Bear, so that's me. That's the crazy one behind the mic this evening, hosting. So Rebecca, what are your thoughts of your thoughts and plans for your mental health? Now, you explained what was going on with you, and mm-hmm. how are you able to and I do understand. I'm a lead myself. I actually just took a lead position in my company. I got to bite my lip sometimes with people. I really don't like to. I really hate doing this. I shouldn't use the word, but I really don't like to. I like to just spit it out and be like, this is what it is. Just deal with it, And I try to always give people the benefit of the doubt, try to make sure they're well, carefully circumferenced and safe and happy and whatever that is. But so for you, because you explained what earlier in the podcast, what's going on with you, what are some goals starting today, tomorrow, moving forward that can help you or maybe you've picked up some stuff this evening, from the podcast. There's some that can go ahead.
Well, my short term is, so I wasn't able to go to school this past semester because I owed some tuition. So my goal is to get that paid off so that I can register for summer. And then I only have, I think, like 4 more things I need for my certificate, and I'm over halfway to my degree. So I'm trying to make it so that I can, do a few classes in summer, which they did a split. They're doing a split summer session. I don't know why, but they are. So I'm trying to do that. And then kind of my long term that I promised my dad is that I would, after I'm done with my community college, then I want to go to actual law school and become a lawyer. And he was very encouraging of that. And I promised him I was going to continue on. So now it's just basically, I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of trying to figure out which school I want to transfer to. And then hopefully some point next year, start applying and hopefully get in somewhere.
Awesome.
Rebecca, those are some hot, those are some great goals. And to me, I mean, it's there's always those little hurdles, I do praise you for doing that. That's awesome. You're going to go into law school. I mean, my little sister's twin brother is actually in that position too, where he's actually, I don't know when he's graduating, pretty soon. I don't know, next year. I don't remember, but when he graduates, but it's great. It's great. The more people in law school, that's awesome. That's, to me, be able to get out there and tell people, instead of you doing this, maybe this is a better idea, and just, making some good, making good choices, helping people out, when you see something like that, if like Caitlin said, if you got someone just looks like they're having a rough time and you just stop and ask if they're okay to talk, but I praise you. Great work. First of all, great work for all, that you're doing. And I really hope that you get to that end goal. And as a junior podcaster, as I call myself, or the rookie podcaster, whatever you want to call me, I actually like to see Rebecca. I'd like to see you as you progress. I'd like to kind of keep little tabs on you, to see how things are going. And same with Denise. I mean, and everybody else. Actually, I will actually. Once we end here, actually, we'll get you some more social media connections of myself. And I want to see everyone's goals and see how everyone's doing, because and even as a newer podcaster, I'm actually the biggest fan of everyone here. Okay. So everyone needed a fan. Yeah, that'd be this crazy person behind the mic right now, but that's all right. That's all right. Rebecca, is there anything else that you wanted to follow up on that?
I just wanted to, when you guys were talking about, people that wish that they had a second chance, I actually had recently, within the past few years, there was a childhood friend that I had, and he was gay and homeless and was struggling and everything. And I knew that he had some problems with drugs and stuff. And then I happened to look on social media and somebody had said oh, I miss you, dude. I'm sorry, or something like that. And I messaged the girl, and she had told me that he had basically taken his life through a heroin overdose, because he got to the point that people had stolen his stuff and he just couldn't take it anymore. And I wish that he had reached out to me, and he didn't.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, Rebecca. I'm really sorry. That's, it's hard for those people sometimes reach that person that's in that state to reach out to somebody, because they just think the world hates them and no one wants to help them. But in all honesty, there are people out there. There are actually good people out there. We have a nice group here this evening, and I can't see any one of us not trying to reach out to anyone. I'm sorry, Rebecca. I'm really sorry. All right, so Rebecca, we have finished up with Rebecca. So we went through Denise and Rebecca. So ladies, first of all, thank you very much. I'm glad to hear about your goals. I'm very happy about that. As we proceed on, we're gonna go just a little bit off to the right here, and actually going to Caitlin, actually out in Australia. By the way, happy Friday to you, and
Thank you.
I know that my producer and owner would be very happy to hear it's Friday by you. So because he would probably enjoying a beverage at this time. So that's good. Good for him. But Caitlin, I would like you to go ahead and tell me what your goals are today for your day, which would be Friday, and moving forward. What are the things that you can do, to help yourself, help people around you?
After this, I'm probably going to go to the gym and keep studying for my course, which I'm pretty sure you know what I'm studying.
Yes, you actually did tell me. We actually have had some actually private Facebook chats about stuff. Yep, and I do wish you the best. I really hope things work out, and I hope things move in the direction that you would like to.
Yeah, so hopefully third time lucky, I might finish on the third time around.
And maybe sometime in my lifetime, maybe I'll actually be able to do a live podcast from Australia. So that might happen down the road. There might be this person might actually be in some other country doing a live podcast, which might be a little crazy.
Giving makeup lessons.
I actually have the technology to do a live broadcast, though.
Oh, okay. So you know what? So there was my boss. Apparently, he came out of vacation for a bit. That was nice. That was nice that he showed up, but maybe he was bored. I don't know. Who knows what he's doing over there? But so, Caitlin, is there anything you could do to help people moving forward? Is there anything that you can do it yourself? In your area, in your country, state?
In Sydney, I basically just keep doing what I'm doing. If I see someone, I talk to them on the internet, just tell them that I'm concerned for their health, ask them if they want to talk, and go from there.
You know what? God bless for what you do. You know what? We do need more stuff like this in the United States. We do need people out there to be able to help when we need help. This is something that, not politically, this is just something mentally everyone needs. We all need to talk to people, if it's, not social media or not, but we definitely need this, So thank you, Caitlin. Is there anything else that you'd like to finish up with before we move on to our next?
We need to get to the people who control the DSM-5.
Yeah, tell them to use the ICD.
Or at least tell them that gender dysphoria is not a sexual health condition.
Right. They're a little behind the times there.
And then that's true. That's true between that and actually the transgender care of WPATH. That we can talk about some other podcasts, but those are some mental health, related issues where they don't think they are, and actually it is very true, Caitlin. You're right. That is
it was before in the DSM-5 was under mental illness, and in 2018 they decided we'll remove it from the DSM-5. Everyone celebrated. 6 months later, they put it back as a sexual health condition.
Interesting.
Now I come home, my partner goes, "Do you want sex?" "Sorry, I'm transgender."
Yeah, sometimes when you mix, and this is Brian brought this up before, you mix politics with mental health, and it just doesn't. It's never worked. You got to let everyone decide what's best for themselves.
I know.
So I agree with Caitlin.
But here in Australia, we like to make fun of New Zealand.
The Kiwis, as their nicknames are. Man, they're the Kiwis. So the Aussies, because actually Rebecca actually has a mother-in-law. Rebecca, am I right?
Stepmom.
Stepmom. Okay, that she's from somewhere else, Australia. I don't know where, but
we don't always call them Kiwis.
No.
Sometimes we call them sheep shaggers.
Oh, jeez. Well, this is the podcast. This is what we do. We learn a little something
about that.
Which is not that good because maybe they do, but then they send it over to Australia and we eat them.
Oh, jeez.
Proper buggers.
Oh, I tell you. All right. So as we move ahead on this one, Galen, thanks for the good laugh. I love, you are so fun. Kashav, you're next. What are your goals starting today, this evening, and moving forward, going into tomorrow and the future?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, it's listening to my psychiatrist, and I always try to listen to him, and it's not always easy to take other people's advice. So at the end of the day, I'm paying this guy, so I'm gonna listen to what he has to say. And so the latest thing he told me to do was to read this book called Rhythms of the Brain, because I'm interested in the brain, and so I'm gonna read that book and see where that carries me in my life, because it might impact my future career. If I can read this book and digest it, then maybe I can start to think about changing my career path in the future.
I love it. Is there anything else that you want to add to that, Kasha?
There is one thing I wanted to add. Well, two things, but same thing. So there was one book that Caitlin showed. I know I sent you a screen capture of the title of this book, but the transgender and queer and transgender guide to sorry, let me actually read it instead of trying to do it from memory. The queer and transgender resilience workbook. And there is a quote from in there about what is healthy when you're communicating with others. And I thought it was really simple. It's like one of the most sincere forms of respect is actually listening to what the other has to say.
Yep.
So, we don't have to like everyone, but maybe we do need to respect everyone. But maybe not.
Sure.
But if you do respect someone, listening to them is the best way to show it, according to this author.
Yeah, like I said to Claire, I think it doesn't bother me that you don't like transgender people. As long as you don't bash me in the head, I don't care.
Right. Follow the basic rules, right?
Yeah.
All right, so Kashav is all done. So now we're gonna pick on the I call him the Mr. Big Shot, Mr. Brian over there. He's actually gonna lead the end of the pack, the end of the train. Not the caboose, Brian. I don't know if I'm in the front or back. I don't know, but so Brian, tell us what are your goals? What are your goals starting this evening and moving forward? What are your goals for yourself? Anyone around you, or suggestions, thoughts?
Well, I think listening to this conversation, there's two categories of goals. One is what I do as far as through TikTok and this kind of mass social media, how I engage with that is, you and I had a great dual live the other night, and it affected me and it affected you, I know, and it affected everybody that was listening. And I think the difference, or maybe the thing that I focused on, is being present in the conversation, being present in the moment first. Focus on being present in the moment, and then focus on kindness and just, I'm a very acerbic person. So some people call it an asshole. I choose to call it acerbic, but maybe, my way of dealing and being kind is a different kind of form of that. But I'm going to be present in the moment. I'm going to be kind in my own way in all those moments that I have whenever I'm talking to a large group of people, you know what I mean, through social media. But the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to work on my community. I'm going to work on my local community and reach out, and I'm going to post in my local Facebook groups. I'm going to say, hey, listen, number one, you're not allowed to quit. I'm not allowed to quit. You're not allowed to quit. Number two, this is how you get a hold of me. Even if you don't know me, if you feel that this is a path you're going down, this is how you get a hold of this human being. And I'm going to try in my community to be there for that person. You know what I'm saying?
I might be going down the path.
And
I'm going to try to be present in an actual physical moment for somebody else as many times as I can humanly do it. And that's my goals. That's my goals for this month. And I'm gonna see where it takes me.
You know, Brian, those are some great, to me, solid. You know, you reach out to people. You know, actually, that gives me a good idea myself. I have a small little group for my local people in Wisconsin, and I'm going to reach out to them and tell them, hey, by the way, you know, you need to talk to somebody? I'm right here, you know, anytime. Ring my phone, you know, what doesn't matter. I might be sleeping, I'll wake up, I'll answer it, you know, I'll talk to you, you know. I would rather see good things than bad things, you know. But Brian, would you like to follow up with anything else before on that at all or not?
No, I think that's I think that's a lot. I mean, I'm not trying to put too much on my plate. I'm just saying, like, I got to make sure that I'm living my truth, which is to put myself in an environment where other people that suffer from the same problems as I do have me, you know. I mean, and I think that's going to help me with my own mental stability and my own mental issues. It's going to help me recognize that I'm necessary and I'm needed, and you are necessary and you're needed, you know. And that's the thing that I think we forget. We forget that we don't feel necessary. We don't feel needed by others. And that's just not true. And you can prove that by putting yourself in the environment that you need the most help in, putting yourself out there and working with others, human beings.
Couldn't have been better said. You know what? I can't say no more than amen to that, Brian. Okay, I will say that. Wow. I want to first of all, I would like to say, as we slowly get to the end of this podcast, I want to first of all say I'd like to thank everyone for all their thoughts and forward thinking in this podcast. You guys are, I would like to give you all a round of applause. Granted, I'm not going to do that because it might make an echo effect, but I'd like to first of all thank everybody on here for taking your time this evening. And Caitlin, thanks for showing up to, even though you got your butt up so early in the morning out in Australia, honey. It is a blessing to be a guest podcaster on hopefully one of these days it'll make it bigger than what we got. But you know what? I'm really happy. I'm really happy. I'm sorry.
You deserve some thanks
It
too.
takes time.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what? I just took a risk. I was excited about it. I didn't know who was going to show up in this podcast. I knew when I looked into this at my work and they talked about mental health, I was like, this is it. We need to talk about this because we all suffer somewhere in our lives. We all do. You know, if it's maybe something, you know, tonight or maybe tomorrow, it could be in the future. You know, it could be something that's dragging our past along. Whatever it is, you know, it is a great thing. And I appreciate everyone taking their time this evening to put up with me too, by the way, you know, really, to be honest, you know, we're all actually here to actually learn something. And it's very, very thoughtful and very thinking. I mean, like most time podcasts, people don't get into details and stuff like that. So, but if everyone would like to make a little closing statement, I will go ahead and if anyone would like to anymore before we actually cut it off. Is anyone, if you would like to, just raise your hand. If I would like to make a little more. Caitlin, go ahead.
You just asked me to raise my hand.
Yes. Okay. Well, did you want to make any closing statement here before we call it?
No, I'm just practicing my Aussie roots comedy act.
No, that's nice. Very good. Very good. Very good.
We're kind of boring down here.
Yeah, they're boring. There's a lot of kangaroos, and I don't know. Who knows?
Dry British humor that's been carried over, I guess, from the past.
That's all right.
Yeah, exactly.
So we just
got out of the ball and chain.
just as actually, and Caitlin will actually verify this with me, but they do not ride kangaroos in Australia, and that's correct, Caitlin. Am I correct on that one?
No, we don't ride them. We shoot them.
Okay, well there you go. So I just so people know, just so they
not
know,
necessarily
not ride
me. I don't shoot them. I'm vegan, so I just.
Anybody does. That's what it is, but that's okay. So listen,
my boyfriend does.
Oh, well, okay.
My boyfriend hates them.
Well, as we wrap this up, first of all, I'm actually going to actually go through the room, and if anyone wishes to give out their social media stuff, your Facebook, TikTok, Twitter accounts, you're welcome to give them out. We always like to ask that if you wish to get them out, and people want to reach out to you outside the podcast when they do listen. We have a lot of different operating systems that do and podcasts out there that you can listen to us on. So a lot of different options out there. So would anyone actually wish to do that? If you want to, if you'd like to, you can raise your hand, and I will go ahead and start. I will start off myself as my name actually is Crystal B. I'm actually on Facebook as Crystal B. You can also find me on TikTok as Miss Care Bear WI, in Care of Wisconsin WI. You can also find me once in a while. You can find me on other social media platforms. I also once in a while do hang out on Google and other operating systems, stuff like that. But those are my two main ones. And if you wish to reach out to me from either that on Facebook or on TikTok, by all means, please do that. Would anyone else like to give out their information at all to anyone else out there listening out this evening? Caitlin, go ahead.
I second what you said. Becoming Katie on Facebook.
That's it. You're not gonna say your. That's it. You're not gonna say no more.
Becoming Katie on Instagram.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, and also you can also find her on TikTok, Caitlin.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Jeez. If you type in Caitlin, you spell her name out, and you will actually find her on there. If not, you just look up Miss Care Bear, and she's actually one of my friends on there. So I would be more glad to direct you towards her.
Becoming Katie, one word.
Okay, thank you. And that's your. Do you have any other social media outlets?
So that's my personal one, no.
Okay, well then no, we don't do a first one, so that's okay. All right, so what, Kashaf, do you have your what are your?
Actually, I'm on a social media diet for the past several years, and I don't have any social media accounts to speak of. I have a personal website, but I guess
a social media diet. Have you been losing any likes?
I have gained some mental liberation from the weight of what I ate for breakfast and lunch and dinner, and the memes. I've gained some time back, but I haven't lost out on TikTok. Yesterday was the first time I had ever experienced TikTok, thanks to Crystal. So it's much appreciated, and thank you again for inviting me to listen, and I'm glad that we were able to have such a great conversation here. So thank you for reintroducing me to the world of social media.
Oh, and Kashaf, you're very welcome. I mean, I got into it a little over 2 months ago, and all of a sudden I'm doing a live and talking to somebody on the phone, and I know it's kind of funny. I know Mr. Brian will give me a hard time for it, but that's okay. All right, so Brian, what are your social media outlets, if you'd like to give them out?
Well, my attention whore-seeking behavior exists strictly in TikTok, so you can find me over there at OMG. This is still Brian, and that's a good place.
All right, well, thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. And then we'll go right on over to Denise. Denise, would you like to give out any of your social media?
I still have Facebook. I do a mental health check about once a week with some friends, because I disappeared very drastically when I found TikTok. And that's Denise Mason. I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. Apparently, there are a lot of Denise Masons. So, and there's a picture of me with really long white and gray hair. And on TikTok, I'm now Nosamdi. NOSAMDE. It's my last name and my first name put together.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how you got the name Denise. I was kind of wondering about that. I was kind of curious. Well, that's good. That's good. It is. Do you have any other social media outlets, or those are just your preferred?
Those are the main ones. I have Twitter, but you wouldn't find me there. I don't even know how to find me there. So.
That is fine. That's fine. All right, so we're gonna go right down to Rebecca. Rebecca, do you have any social media? There she is. Do you have any social media you wish to get on?
I do. I'm on Facebook. It would be Becky, and then my last name, Monges. I have no idea what my picture is. Oh, it's me and my dad. Yes, my picture is me and my dad. And I'm on there like all the time, so easy to reach me. And then on TikTok, it's Thank You Captain Obvious, and it's thank and then the letter U, Captain Obvious. And those are like, I do have a Snapchat too, but I don't know what the username is. So if you look under my name, you'll find me.
I do have a Snapchat, but I don't try to. Usually I just so with just a few of my friends, I like to just send me random pictures of themselves with their little emoji faces. And
yeah.
You never use Snapchat anymore?
I do, but once in a while. I don't know. I guess that's apparently I was told that's for old people according to my boss.
Ouch.
And he says old people use Snapchat. So I'm like, okay, so what are you?
That's not what I heard. My boyfriend says that old people use Facebook and young people use Snapchat. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, whatever the case scenario is, maybe my boss is only 21. I don't know what the case scenario. Whatever. That's fine. But we'll go with that. That's fine with me.
So if young people use Snapchat, I better get my grandma onto it so she can feel young again.
Yeah, she'll feel like she's 50 years old. Then there it is. Well, I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said ouch.
Oh, be careful, Denise. Don't hurt yourself. So, what's that, kid?
If she really wants to feel young, I'll just use Face App on her.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go. This is what you did with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Kashif? Kashif, if you want to state your website on the web podcast, you can.
Yeah, sure. It's just kashifshah.net. Spelled Kashif as in Frank and SHAH.net. And my email is just kashif@kashifshah.net. If anyone on the call wants to reach out, I'd be happy to reply. I can't, reply to email immediately, but I would definitely reply.
Well, thank you very much, Kasha, for sharing, and thank you, boss, for stepping in to making sure I'm doing a good job. By the way, I'm going to make sure, even though he has enjoyed his vacation in some beach somewhere, I have no idea where that is, but some remote location. Well, that's what happens when you're a big shot. Sometimes a rookie's got to take over and have a little fun sometimes, but that's okay though. But I would like to wish everyone a great evening. Thank you again for taking your time out this evening. We're talking about mental health awareness. Again, I am the junior new guest podcaster. My name is Crystal B. We are actually talking about mental health awareness for the month of May. And I'd like to thank everyone for coming online this evening and to join our podcast. This is Crystal B signing off from Same Cast, Different Day. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.